What's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another action QMR set of quick movie reviews. This time we're going to be talking about Fire Down Below starring Steven Seagal, as well as Enemies Closer with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and finally The Defender with Dolph Lundgren and Jerry Springer.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel.
Hey, I'm Sylvia Saska.
And I'm Jen Saska.
And we're the Saska Sisters. Get a part of this. Subscribe to the little butt down there. Look.
And first up, we're going to be talking about Fire Down Below. Now, this movie came out in 1997, and once again stars Steven Seagal. And it was one of Seagal's other sort of environmental action movies that he did in the 90s. The other one being On Deadly Ground, which I was not overly fond of for the most part, which is one Seagal had directed and everything. And if you guys have watched my reviews, you know I have a pretty mixed relationship with Sensei Seagal, but there are some of his movies I do like and enjoy. A few of them from his golden years, I guess, and a couple here and there from the later years, but generally speaking, I'm not crazy about the guy and how he is, off camera and stuff like that, if you know anything about those stories. But from just the film perspective, I do think Fire Down Below is actually one of his better ones. I did find it more enjoyable than On Deadly Ground. I like the first 40-45 minutes of On Deadly Ground are kind of a bit padded for me, and then it picks up a bit, and it has a couple decent scenes, and I don't really care for the big speech at the end either, but it is what it is. Fire Down Below, though, I felt like just had more of a fun factor to it. I found it more generally entertaining. The movie was directed not by Seagal, but by I cannot pronounce his name, so I won't even try. Story is done by Jeb Stewart. It's about an EPA representative that is discovered dead in a small Midwestern town with government agent Jack Taggart, Steven Seagal, who goes undercover to check things out. He finds that local coal mongol Orrin Hanner Sr., Chris Christopherson, is cutting financial corners by disposing of hazardous waste wherever he pleases, and that local kids are falling ill because of the recklessness. Taggart then works to stop the shady activity and save the town, but Hanner and his thugs soon grow suspicious of him. Yep, so again, with an environmental theme to it, I'm not going to criticize Seagal for, actually hopefully caring about those issues. But, I thought On Deadly Ground was a little bit heavy-handed with it. With an undisputedly good message, but it was kind of just delivered in an awkward way, I think. That didn't quite work. This one I feel like is more balanced. It's more balanced of what we're wanting from a Seagal movie, generally speaking, and what Seagal probably, remembers most fondly about it, with his personal view. Now, I guess originally they were trying to get Bruce Willis to star in this movie, but he had turned it down. And at that point, it's going to be more of like a detective drama sort of thing. Probably a shootout, here and there, who knows. But when Seagal came on board, they had rewrote it to fit Seagal's usual shtick, to turn into more of a faster-paced action film. And a couple scenes ended up being cut out of it as well by the end, which is kind of odd. They wanted to keep it a very similar fast-paced all of Seagal's other films, to make as much money off of the guy as possible, and market it to the audience he did have at the time. But they cut out some action sequences, and I don't get it. A couple that actually made up most of its, I think it was like $60 million budget, so I'm not quite sure why they went that far with it. But according to IMDb, this included a scene of Tiger and his partner, who originally had a lot more scenes, but those were removed, and the entire original opening of the film was re-edited into a few minutes long. Other deleted action sequences include a really big and complicated chase scene, which took place at night in woods and the hills and involved police cars chasing a tanker truck full of toxic waste, which eventually crashes into a train on the river bridge. Also a scene where Tiger kills the second corrupt FBI agent by burning him alive in a gas station explosion was also cut out and changed so that he leaves him alive. Trailers for the film show many parts of the deleted scenes and alternate scenes, including deleted action sequences. Yep, that's the case. I had seen a couple brief clips of those myself, but it just boggles my mind. They spent money on it, so why not leave it in? I don't know. If anything, people have liked it more if they kept a couple of those scenes in, as far as I know. But yeah, I actually liked this film, surprisingly. It's probably within my top 5 favorite Seagal films, honestly, which is saying a lot, and at the same time not. But the film has a decent cast, I think, that I was pleasantly surprised by. I mean, I knew it already did going into it, but I liked a couple of the other performances I wasn't really expecting to as much. I mean, you have, Marge, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Hellenberger, as Sarah Kellogg, who is kind of like this outcast of the town. There's like this whole kind of vibe around her that, a lot of folks, there's a story that apparently she had killed her father and everything like that, so she's been outcasted. Then, she had gotten off on something, and, people still are wary of her and everything. She did actually quite a nice job acting-wise. I was surprised. But Seagal made a pretty odd comment about her at one point. I'll read that to you here. Seagal liked the film in part because it was kind of an environmental movie. He also enjoyed working with Helen Berger. He said, "Well, I don't think she's a physical, spectacular, drop-dead gorgeous woman. At the same time, she's a spectacular actress. The performance was wonderful." So yeah, Seagal basically said he didn't think she was very attractive, so she didn't fit his usual criteria. I mean, he probably wanted just like a, some sort of basic-looking blonde model or something like that, I'd imagine. Who knows? But I found her attractive in a very real way. I felt like she was believable in her role. She didn't stick out like she was just placed in there for her looks, and at the same time, I still thought she was attractive. But I felt like she actually got her role for her acting and not just her looks, which maybe Seagal had a problem with, who knows. But I liked her pretty well. And then he also had Chris Christopherson, of course, who's been in just, how many movies over the years, says he's not in it a whole lot, but him and Seagal do have a good kind of banter at the end when Seagal finally gets to see him face to face. Harry Dean Stanton as Cotton. He's sort of presented as like this, village idiot, if you want to put it that way. But there's a little more under the surface with him, with what he knows about the town. I liked him quite a bit. Stephen Lang, of course, the younger Stephen Lang here, who is a wonderful actor, great physicality, great kind of eccentric charisma to him when he wants. He's Earl Kellogg, Sarah's brother. Levin Helm as the Reverend I liked as well. Mark Colley, who's been in a few different Seagal movies. He was also in the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. Randy Travis I've seen in a few things too. So yeah, actually a pretty good cast here. I liked it. And the action itself that wasn't cut out, I thought was actually pretty decent. I mean, of course, Seagal never gets hit. He never faces any real danger. But there's still fun, a few fun confrontations for sure. You have Seagal using, kind of getting resourceful and using like a big wooden plank and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. A couple of decent shootouts. I guess definitely superior to On Deadly Ground, I think, in terms of the action. It's a little more consistent. Although On Deadly Ground does have a decent shootout at the house, with the shotgun and everything, but I just felt like it was, it just felt a little more plentiful in Fire Down Below. And yeah, I like the film. I mean, I'm surprised. The more I talk about it, the more I think I actually liked it a fair bit. Like I said, probably my top 5 Seagal movies. We'll see whenever I do that video someday where it actually ranks, but I enjoyed it. And next up, we're going to be talking about, well, if I had to rate Fire Down Below, by the way, I'm not entirely sure. It kind of depends on my mood at the time, but I could probably give it anywhere from 78% to maybe like a 82, I want to say. So C plus B minus, somewhere in there. And I haven't given a Seagal movie anything above C plus in quite some time, so that might say something. But anyway, next up we're going to talk about The Defender, which starred Dolph Lundgren and, yeah, Jerry Springer. The Defender is basically about, you're reading off of Google here again, global war on terror rages on, terrorist Mohammed Jamar must remain invisible because if acquitted, the possibilities of the entire Western world would be destroyed. And then going to IMDb, it says, Lance and his team are bodyguards for NSA's head, who is sent by the president to a secret meeting in an empty local hotel outside Bucharest. I know I'm mispronouncing the name. During the meeting, the hotel is attacked. By whom and why? And this is also Dolph Lundgren's directorial debut. He's directed a number of his own films over the years, especially in the 2000s. Like The Russian Specialist and some others. And I like this one pretty well. I mean, I bought the DVD quite some time ago, hearing it was one of the more decent 2000s Dolph flicks that isn't really talked about too much. Let's get this out of the way. Jerry Springer is the president. He doesn't have a whole lot of screen time. In fact, I don't think him and Dolph Lundgren actually share the screen at any point together. So I'm not really sure why they casted Jerry Springer. It could have been anyone. He doesn't do a bad job. He's actually a little more believable than I thought he would be. But it just felt like it didn't really need him for whatever they paid him. I don't know. You also have Dolph's, kind of combed down hair look, and I'm not crazy about that. But yeah, overall the movie was pretty good. I wasn't as engaged with it as I wanted to be, surprisingly, but I do think the plot was actually pretty well done. It does have a bit of a thought-provoking idea to it, which I won't spoil. But it gives you a little more to think about than you might initially go into it, trying to perceive as what you think it is. And so it's a little smart on that end, and does have a couple twists in it towards the end. So it's quite clever. It's a bit of a slow burn, but there's some good shootouts with it I liked quite a bit. There's not really a whole lot of martial arts, but there's a few decent skirmishes that Dolph gets into, and it's filmed fairly well. I mean, the action I think could have been handled a little bit better maybe, but the rest of it I think is shot well. There's some decent kind of like opening shots and like vehicle shots and stuff like that I think they did pretty well with. So really not a bad directorial debut at all. I don't think it's as good as The Russian Specialist maybe. But, I give it credit, I think the writer, Douglas W. Miller, did a decent job of telling the type of story he wants to tell. It definitely could have been a duller affair for sure. But at the same time, I wanted to be more into it than I was. And, I don't know, an angle with Shakira Leonard K, I think was a bit too forced. I don't know. But there's not too much more to say about this. It was only like an hour and 30. It's not really too hard to get through. Yeah, so it's not like the most memorable Dolph film, but I think it's up there with, again, some of those other ones he directed, and I do think it's definitely better than some. It's definitely, all Dolph's directorial efforts are better than all of Seagal's, so there's that if you want to go that way with it. If I had to rate The Defender, I was a little bit lukewarm on it at times overall, but I do think it's a solid effort by Dolph, and it has a little more to it than you might expect. So I'd give it, about a 77%. And finally, we're going to be talking about Enemies Closer, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. directed by Peter Hyams, and also starring Tom Everett Scott and Orlando Jones. Also, Chris Van Damme's son is in this with him too, which is always fun to see. Deep within a forest on the U.S.-Canadian border, two sworn enemies must work together to escape a ruthless drug cartel hell-bent on retrieving a drug shipment which went missing there. So yeah, I've seen Tom Everett Scott in a few things. He was in season 1 of Z Nation. I liked him there. I think he was in one of those direct-to-video American Werewolf in London spin-off movies or something. He's supposed to be like this former SEAL or something like that. He's a likable actor, but I didn't fully believe him in the role, but I didn't mind him in this overall. Orlando Jones, I thought actually did pretty well as Clay. This guy who ends up having a grudge against Tom Everett Scott's character, but then they're put into this position where they might have to work together. I actually thought he did a really nice job acting-wise, and from like a serious performance basis, I think Orlando Jones is probably the best in the movie. We'll talk about Van Damme in a second, which is a totally different discussion. Lindsay Cocker as Kayla, someone Tom Everett Scott's character runs into before shit starts hitting the fan. I thought she was alright. I mean, definitely a looker, but I don't know, I thought some of her line delivery was really off, and I just didn't really believe her in her role. But yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme is obviously a reason for watching this movie. He's in a, I guess sort of a rare villain role, but this is definitely the most eccentric you'll ever see Van Damme acting. He plays a very unhinged character. His character's name is Xander. His hair is ridiculous in the movie, and at times he's like a low-key Joker, basically, and even does an amazing Joker laugh by the end of the movie. You can tell Van Damme had a ball with this movie. He put a good flair into it. He made the movie really entertaining and engaging to watch. The movie went by pretty fast for me. I think the action is also fairly well shot. The fight scenes anyway. And you're not entirely sure, I mean, you have a pretty good idea of how the plot's going to end up, but as far as like some of those side characters and even Orlando Jones, you're not fully sure what their fates are going to be. So that was decent on that end. And yeah, how it goes between Tom Everett Scott and Van Damme, you're like, okay, Van Damme would kill this guy, but still, I do think Tom Everett Scott's a likable actor when he's put into a more prominent role, and I didn't mind him here. I feel like maybe they could have gone with more of a household action name of some kind. I'm not sure, but not bad at all. And I want to say I just did a video on my brother and I's top 10 Van Damme movies, which is like an hour and a half long. We didn't bring that up on here. It's not like one of his all-time best, really, because it's just hard to compare, but it's definitely one of his most distinguished, and I think it's probably one of his best performances when you look at it objectively, really. Just a lot of fun to watch. I mean, it has a lot of weird-ass lines. He's choking out Tom Everett Scott at one point, and he calls him my child, and he just has like a lot of little tics and habits and stuff just let randomly come out. Just a blast to watch Van Damme here. But besides that, the movie is a bit basic. Like I said, it's predictable where the plot does end up going. There's not really any surprises in there. But a decent conflict. I was surprised with how well it was portrayed between Everett Scott and Jones's characters. And it's just worth your money and your time just to see Van Damme's performance alone. So I liked it. And if I had to rate it, I'm giving it... I'd probably give it like anywhere from like an 80 to 84%, I think, just depending again on my mood. Definitely worth having if you're a Van Damme fan. Definitely one of his most, again, distinguished performances. So, yeah, let me guys talk about all of these. Where does Fire Down Below rank on your all-time Seagal list if you have one? Have you checked out The Defender? And how do you feel about Enemies Closer compared to like the other 2000s Van Damme films? So, yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.